Welcome to our continued coverage of the TIA Network of the Future Conference. We're here with Betty Manetta, President and CEO of Argent Associates. Let's talk about SDN and NFV. The adoption of these technologies has exploded, but the telco industry hasn't fit all the pieces in the puzzle together yet when it comes to seamless implementation in a network. Tell me about SDN and NFV's impact on the current network force, for example.
Okay, so that's a very good question, right? So as you know, the telcos have gone from an equipment-based infrastructure to a software-centric infrastructure, and hence that creates some significant opportunities, where companies were used to dealing with boxes and hardware. Now, a lot of it is being virtualized and moving to the software side of it. So from a workforce, right, and I think everyone has that challenge, unless you were a software-centric company. Other than that, you have to start pivoting, and you have to make sure that you have the right resources. So from going from, if you have software developers in-house, that's great. They are in high demand. However, what we have to do is start taking our employees and seeing which ones can migrate to this area and where you need to hire new. So it's going to be a hybrid. And I think the telcos are also feeling the same pain, right? Because they have some workers that have been working there for 20, 30 years, understand the network. You need those people, but as you start moving more into the virtual area, like data centers have gone, you're going to need a whole new workforce, and that's where I think some of the challenge will be, but it's already started. They're taking the time to teach and get their employees through certain programs that can help them, and others may want to just move someplace else.
What other critical aspects of SDN and NFV adoption does the telco industry need to focus on right now?
So I think what they're focusing on right now is looking at some of the self-provisioning or provisioning movement into the virtual area, some of the low-hanging fruits, obviously that are easier, operational things that can be moved to a virtual environment. I think there's the core access piece of the network, which already started migrating. I think we heard from some carriers, they're already somewhere 30 to 50%. Virtualizing a lot of the things. I always say things, but there are so many different functions that have to get virtualized. I think that the area where they're going to need to focus on is going to be at the edge. The edge is where a lot of the money is being spent today. So virtualizing those things are going to be critical. So again, they're already migrating to that path. Again, when you have a legacy system bundled with new, you have to make sure that when you start virtualizing, it doesn't disrupt anything within their existing infrastructure. So everyone's always moving cautiously, because the last thing you need to do is have an outage or anything that will impact your network. So that's going to be a challenge. And again, as we talked earlier, the people aspect. How do you take some of your existing workforce and migrate them into a virtual environment?
Let's move to smart cities. While most people might think solely of the benefits to consumers brought by smart cities, can you tell us how connected cities benefit a diverse range of suppliers?
So that's something that we're working on feverishly. So I belong to several organizations, the local Minority Council, the Women's Council, the Hispanic Chamber, and all of us are looking for opportunities for our members, right? And the smart city really is the ability to connect so many different things, from healthcare, utilities, transportation, education. I think it's a great platform that's going to enable us to grow and to grow our supplier base, right? Because at the end of the day, it's really about economic wealth, economic reform for a lot of cities, right? They're banking that some of these things, like the Smart City Initiative, and we keep saying Smart City, but I think it really expands more. It's the connected city, the smart city, the resilient city. All those things are going to take time, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of small niche players to play in that arena. And we're seeing it today because we're more nimble, we can do a lot more things, and we're working hand in hand with the city council, with the mayor's office, with local organizations, and again, bringing collectively and collaborating together. I think we're going to see some really great opportunities. So I believe that this is just the initial phase, and it's going to continue to grow as we move forward.
Over the last few years, we've seen the growth of the term resilient cities. What is a resilient city, and how does it impact the growth of the telecom industry?
So resilient city is a little bit more encompassing. I think what's happening today, and we see it in so many different cities, the first responders, right? Police officers having to wear, they're wearing the body cams, water issues, epidemics, right? The Zika virus, they're flooding. All those things are something that, how do you start looking at how does everyone stay connected? How does a city be able to implement and go and support the citizens if we're not all talking and connected together? I always use the example of September 11th, right? What happened was all of a sudden everyone had to kind of work together, right? So things were needed that we couldn't get access to. So a Home Depot, and I remember there's an organization in Washington, D.C., the Business Roundtable, and at that time President Bush really coordinated this whole resilient city, if you will, on if there's an issue, a major terrorist attack, or whether it's a big disease or major like Sandy and those types of things, anything happen like that, how do we respond? How does everybody get connected? It's like picking up the Batman, the red phone, the hot phone, right? And all of a sudden now you have the telecom companies, right? So whether it's AT&T, Verizon, depending on who is the largest carrier, maybe it's all of them. How do you dispatch the Home Depots and the Lowe's, because they have things, Granger, who has emergency kits available. Maybe some of these small niche players that have disaster recovery vehicles that can give you power on demand, right? So all these things have to work together. That's a resilient city, a city that can be connected to each other and be able to execute on various things. So I think the difference between resilient and smart city, they eventually have to all work and tie together, because you want to be able to make sure that your trains, your transportation, the lights, everything is talking with sensors. But at the same time, you also have to make sure that your first responders and key organizations or key companies that can quickly dispatch and help are all working cohesively together. So to me, that's the difference. I don't think you have one or the other. I think they all have to go hand in hand.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.